How's it going, everyone? It's Noir Tapes back with another video. Today I want to do a video breaking down a few of the techniques I've learned from listening to Joey Badass over the years. I love Joey Badass, he's one of my favourite artists. I could name a handful of songs, my memory's not so great when it comes to actual song titles. Definitely the main two influences on my sound would come from Survival Tactics and Christ Conscience. They're both some of my favourite songs that he's ever made, some of my favourite songs of all time. But today I wanted to break down some of the techniques I've learned from listening to those beats and trying to, as you learn, recreate it and study it. So let's get into it. So I made this beat on the MPC here, chopped up some samples and did some techniques that I'll explain as I go, but this is what the beat sounds like here. But yeah, you get the picture, it's pretty gritty and hard. And that leads into the first technique I was talking about, which is making sure your sounds are all gritty. These old samples that I use all the time turn out to be gritty by nature anyways. But using gritty samples is a staple to that style of boom bap. And one of the easiest ways to get your sample to sound gritty is to change the pitch of it. There's a great example in Christ Conscience. That main droning sample that you hear in the background of Christ Conscience is a sample that they've pitched down way down, and that makes it really long and takes up all the space like a pad almost, but it sounds so different to the actual sample. If you are interested, go check it out. It's actually really interesting. But I've sort of done that with this beat here. So I've got this sample here that I used in this beat, and I'll play it. I've repitched it 3 tones down just for this example, just to avoid copyright. But see if you can hear the sample in it. When I was actually listening for the sample, that end chord really stuck out to me. It's quite impactful, and I was definitely interested as soon as I heard it. And I had a feeling I could get that sort of vibe by pitching that down. So I chopped up the sample. And I pitched it all the way down, as you can hear with all those chops. And so that last cut with the little note and then the big chord, when you pitch it way down, it takes up so much more space and it really attributes itself to that dark feel that I'm going for. So I then added a high pass to it just to cut out the bass of that really loud chord, and then I added my own bass line in this beat as well, and then added drums of course, so that's what you get now. And then one of the other big things that I take away from Joey Badass' style is layers. I'm a big fan of layers. You've probably seen in heaps of my other videos, I love adding delayed horns. It's one of my favourite textures to add to a beat. And I did it in this beat as well, as you can hear. I think one of the best examples is in Christ Conscience. They actually use 2 different styles of horn, and they delay them both as well, and they use it as sort of almost like a counter melody sort of thing, going back and forward, and I love the way they do that. In this beat I actually added another layer as well. It's another delayed layer, but this time it's not another horn. It's actually a little flourish that I did with the piano in the sample. I'll see if I can find the chop. There's actually this chop here. And so with that chop, I like a little flourish, I think it sounded good when I was just playing it dry over the top of the sample that was already going. And so I added some delay, a bit of reverb, and I did some filtering to put it in its own space above everything else. And so this is what I turned out with. And so then I just played that on every bar, and this is what I get. definitely think the key when it comes to making these sort of dark and gritty beats is you want to have enough repetition, as in having a main sample that rolls, maybe doing some filtering just to add a slight bit of variation. But when it comes to adding other variation, it's really in the minor details, the layers, the little beat breaks, the parts where you take out the drums, bring it back in, you know, stuff like that. That's what really adds up and stops this monotonous loop that is interesting but will get boring quick and turns it into a full piece of work. But there you go, there's some of the techniques I learned from Joe Badass. Definitely one of my favorite artists, probably one of my favorites of all time actually. Definitely my top 10. But yeah, definitely let me know if you want me to do other videos based on artists or producers that have inspired me. I've got heaps of them. I'd love to do DJ Muggs, one of the GOATs, and I think he doesn't get enough recognition. Anyways, thanks for watching guys. See you next time.